Most of you have heard of Sita, or you know something about Sita. I'll explain very briefly. Sita and Ram, they lived many, many, many years ago, according to Indian history. In Vedic cosmology, you have 4 ages: the Satya Yuga, the Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. This age is called the Kali Yuga, and it lasts for 432,000 years. Before this age was Dwapara Yuga, which lasted for 864,000 years. And before that was the Treta Yuga, which lasted for 1,276,000 years. So Lord Ram, he lived in the Treta Yuga some 2 million years ago. So Ram, he was a prince, and his father, Maharaja Dasarath, had set a day that Ram would be ordained as king. He had 4 brothers. There were 4 brothers: Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, and Ram. And all loved Ram very much. In fact, Ram was loved by the whole kingdom. You don't need to turn it up. In fact, keep it down a bit. He was loved by the whole kingdom. So when it was stated that Ram would be king, everybody was very happy. Even his stepmothers, they were so happy. And Ram had a wife. Her name was Sita. So Sita, Ram. So according to Vedic philosophy, Vedic spirituality, Ram, he's incarnation of God. That he resides in the transcendental abode. And from time to time, he comes into this material world to perform pastimes. And his pastimes have a purpose. Ram and Sita, they're known as Maharaja. Maharaja means ideal. That they come in human society to show what is the ideal way to live, so that upon leaving this body, then we continue in our sojourn, our spiritual sojourn, and ultimately we go to the transcendental world. The understanding amongst the Vaishnavas is that there is a transcendental world where there's variety, there's form, and there are presiding personalities, or one personality. According to the personalist philosophy of Vaishnavism, there's one God. But that one God, he takes on different features to show different lessons to us. Ram, he shows what is the ideal way to live. Lord Ram, he was an ideal son. His father had 3 main wives. And though Ram was meant to be king, one of his stepmothers, she became influenced by her servant, and she influenced the king that Ram should not be king, but rather that Ram should be banished to the kingdom for 14 years. It's a long story. And his father didn't want to do it, but he had made a promise to her, and now she wanted to fulfill that. She wanted him to fulfill that promise. And it was for him, for the king, it was better that he die than send his son to the forest. When time came for him to tell his son, he couldn't tell him. And his stepmother said, "This is what your father has promised me, and now I want him to fulfill." Basically, the father had told her that whenever she needed any benediction from him, that he would give it. So now, she went to the father and she said, or her husband, she said, "I want this. I want that Ram should go to the forest." He could not tell Ram, but as soon as Ram heard that his father was in such a precarious situation, immediately he said, "There's no need for my father to even tell me. Happily I'll go to the forest to maintain my father's word. That once he is giving his word, that word should be carried out. I don't mind." What ensued? The whole kingdom became completely devastated that Ram would leave. And Ram, he went and told Sita that he would have to go to the forest to uphold his father's word. Sita was there, and Ram told her, and I'll have to leave you behind while I go for 14 years. Sita became completely devastated. She said, how can you leave me? She said that you are to me, just as the sun cannot be without sunlight. The fragrance of musk, or musk cannot be without its fragrance. So similarly, I can never be without you. I'm inseparable. That wherever you go, I will go. Ram said, this is very, very dangerous in the forest. And you're very soft, very gentle. I don't want you to go. And she became very angry. She said, do you think I have not been trained by my father? That as a wife, that I should not always be with my husband? Said that you were insulting me. And then Ram said, actually, I was just testing. And then Ram and Sita, they went to the forest. And it's explained in Ramayana. Ramayana is an epic from India. And the whole kingdom walked out with them. Very, very heart-rending story. Here Sita was. She was always in royal splendor. And now she was made to wear clothes from tree bark. Took the tree bark, stitched it up somehow, and she had to put that on her delicate body. All the citizens were crying and crying and crying. And they said, if Sita and Ram leave the kingdom, we'll also leave. His father said, also, I will leave and I'll take all the treasury. And he told his stepwife, who was behind the whole thing, said that, and we'll leave and you can have the empty kingdom. And in this way, they all left. But when all was sleeping one night, Sita, Ram, and one brother Lakshman, then they snuck away from the rest of the kingdom and they went to their exile for 14 years. So, Sita and Ram, they're worshipped all over India as being ideal. She, ideal wife. He, ideal son, ideal brother, and ideal in all ways. So we start our program begging for the grace of Sita and Ram, that we can follow in their footsteps and also bring some light into the world. So next one will be Jai Jai Radhe. Next song or bhajan will be Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Shyam, Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham. This is glorifying also God. I said he has different features. So, one God, I'll give you an example. Say, I'm in a play, okay? And I'm playing a particular part. I'm playing, what am I playing? Romeo. I'm playing Romeo. Say I was married, okay? Say I was married, but very boring husband, very, very boring. And then my wife, she's looking and she's saying, oh, look at Ashram. I prefer him as Romeo. He's much more exciting and this and that. But it's just a play. But there I am, the lover, Romeo. And then in another situation, I'm Ashram, very boring, very dry, etc. But I cannot have those two roles simultaneously. But the Supreme Lord, he has different roles that he plays simultaneously. One is the ideal leader, the ideal son, Ram. And then when it comes to one who's expert in topmost love, that's Krishna. And then Sita, who's the ideal wife, she now manifests a form of Radha. It's the same two people, but manifesting different features according to their different activities. And they perform their pastimes in a place called Vrindavan, the land of love. And that same Vrindavan that's in the transcendental world has descended into this material world, This I'll explain later. So, somewhere on that sheet that you have, they have the mantra, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Shyam, Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham. So, you can either, in your mind, you can chant along, or if you feel inspired, you can chant loudly. If you feel so inspired, you can get up and you can dance. You can clap your hands. You can feel free to express. Because now we're slowly entering into Vrindavan, the land of love.